When we think of Mars, we usually think about what we can see, that vast, red, dusty landscape. But it turns out one of its biggest secrets isn't something you see, it's something you hear. And we're about to dive into the incredible story of one single, ghostly sound from a whole other world.
So, picture this. You're a scientist listening to the crackle and hiss of deep space static. And then, out of nowhere, you hear it. This strange, eerie, descending howl. It sounds, and I'm not kidding, like a whale call. But this isn't coming from our oceans. Nope, it's coming from Mars. And that one sound kicked off a hunt that would last more than a decade.
Okay, so to figure out what was going on with this Martian mystery, we actually have to start right here, at home. Because it turns out Earth has its own version of this cosmic howl. And it all begins with something we know pretty well, a flash of lightning. That weird sound? It has a name. It's called a whistler. Now, this isn't the thunder you hear with your ears. It's actually a super low-frequency radio wave that gets created by the lightning strike itself. You can think of it as a unique audio signature, a fingerprint that's left behind when all that raw energy from a lightning bolt interacts with a planet's magnetic field.
So how's it made? Well, it's a pretty cool process. First, a bolt of lightning strikes, unleashing this massive blast of radio waves. Those waves shoot straight up into the charged part of our upper atmosphere, the ionosphere. And there, they get snagged by Earth's magnetic field lines. They basically ride them, like a roller coaster on a cosmic highway. And as they travel along that field, the different frequencies start to spread out. The higher ones move faster, the lower ones lag behind. That stretching of the signal is what creates that signature descending hoo-hoop sound.
And right here, this is where the Martian puzzle gets really, really tricky. Because when we look at Mars, it looks like it's missing the key ingredients. It's like trying to bake a cake, but you don't have any flour or eggs. On Earth, the recipe is super clear. You need lightning, which we get from our water clouds, and you need a big global magnetic field to guide that radio signal. But Mars, well, it's a different story. It has these absolutely enormous dust storms that could totally generate an electrical charge, no problem. But it doesn't have that crucial global magnetic field. So the big question was, how could it possibly create a whistler? Well, it turns out Mars was hiding a secret. It has a sort of ghost of a magnetic field. Billions of years ago, Mars did have one, and when it died away, it left behind these little localized patches of magnetism, basically frozen into the planet's crust. You can think of them as fossilized magnetic fields, faint echoes of the past, but just strong enough to guide a radio wave, if every single thing lined up perfectly. So, armed with this tiny, tiny possibility, scientists set off on this absolutely epic search. And they weren't just looking for a needle in a haystack. They were listening for a whisper in a solar system full of noise. And they were using data from NASA's MAVEN spacecraft to do it. So a team led by a physicist named Franciszek Niemiec started digging through years and years of data. They meticulously analyzed more than 108,000, let that sink in, 108,000 individual recordings of plasma waves sent back from the MAVEN orbiter. And after all that searching, through all that data, they found it. Just one. A single, solitary event that had the unmistakable signature of a true Martian whistler. And let me tell you, this discovery was a long time coming. MAVEN started its observations back in 2014. The signal itself, all 0.4 seconds of it, was actually recorded just a year later, in 2015. But it was so faint, so unexpected, that it took over a decade of painstaking analysis before researchers could finally, definitively confirm what they'd found. So, how did this even happen? How did this one signal beat what seemed like impossible odds? Well, it turns out it took a moment of perfect, almost unbelievable cosmic alignment. 3 incredibly specific things had to happen at the exact same instant. First, you needed a seriously powerful lightning strike coming from one of those dust storms. Second, that strike had to happen in the absolute perfect spot, right underneath one of those rare, fossilized magnetic fields that was pointing almost straight up, like an antenna. And third, as if that wasn't enough, the MAVEN spacecraft had to be flying directly overhead at that precise moment, on the night side of Mars where the atmosphere is calmer and the faint signal could get through. The chances of all that lining up, just astronomically small. And this really shows you the kind of power we're talking about.
After calculating how much that signal must have faded on its long journey up to the spacecraft, the scientists realized the source was no small spark. This was a bolt of lightning with energy on par with a really powerful strike right here on Earth. So, look, this is an incredible scientific detective story, for sure. But it's way more than just a solved mystery. Why does one little, faint howl from millions of miles away actually matter? Well, the implications are honestly profound, and they connect directly to one of the biggest questions we've ever asked. Are we alone? Okay, so here's why this is so unbelievably exciting. You might have heard of these famous origin of life experiments, right? Where scientists zapped simple chemicals with electricity, basically simulating lightning, and created amino acids, the literal building blocks of life. By discovering lightning on Mars, we've just found a potential energy source that could have done the exact same thing, a process that might have kickstarted the chemistry for life on another world. So, ultimately, proving that lightning exists on Mars adds this crucial new ingredient to the recipe for life. It transforms our whole view of the red planet. It's not just some static, frozen world anymore. It's a place with active, energetic weather, and that makes it a far, far more compelling place to look for signs of past life. This single, faint how has opened up an entire universe of new possibilities. It's a powerful reminder that even the planets we think we know can hold these incredible surprises. It proves Mars is so much more dynamic than we ever imagined, and it leaves us with this one absolutely thrilling question. What else is it hiding?